I'm a poor wayfaring stranger traveling through this world of woe. There is no sickness or toil, no hardship, that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. All my loved ones gone on before. Only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. How's the line? How's the level? Okay, great. Okay, good. All right, we're ready to start. Yes.
Excited to have him here for his Songs and Stories of the American West. I used to be a librarian in Arizona.
Oh, whereabouts?
Up in Apache County, so
Okay.
up in the northeast part of the state there. But I'll let you go ahead and get started and do your thing.
Marvelous. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Before I even begin,
A little housekeeping. I live in the South. How many of y'all say y'all all the time? You'll notice that I say y'all all the time. One or two of you say y'all? More and more. Okay, more and more. Okay, good. So I've been on a mission for almost 30 years now to spread the use of the word y'all north of the Oklahoma-Kansas border. I'm serious. It's one of the most useful words in the English language. I can use it three distinct ways. I can thank Leroy. I want to thank you all for inviting me to come play here in New Ulm. That's the singular y'all. I want to thank this couple right up here in front for sitting there so patiently while I was getting ready. I want to thank you all. That's the plural y'all. I want to thank you very much for being here. And then look at everybody here. Thank all y'all for being here. So that's the super plural. So the cool thing about y'all is you do not have to have a drawl or a twang. I was born in Kansas. My parents learned to speak English in Chicago. We have that flat Midwestern affect, no accent whatsoever as far as we can tell. But we say y'all all the time because it's so useful. Singular, plural, super plural. So what I would like you to do is practice it with me one time on the count of three. Then if you'll sprinkle it into conversation today and tomorrow, I guarantee that when you go to church on Sunday, they will think that you took an exotic vacation and learned a foreign language. So on the count of three, say y'all. 1, 2, 3. Y'all. Thank you all so very much. From the balcony I watch the quiet plaza. Pinion smoke trails out across the room. Long before I see the horse, I can trace its winding course from the jingle and steady sound of hooves. I traded guns for stolen stock across the border. A fugitive on both sides of the line. Riding on the edge of danger, federales and the rangers racing death. I'm running out of time. Spanish is the loving tongue, the language of our hearts. We tied our souls together, only death to part. Graciela watched me dressed to go, pistols at my side. Goodbye, I said, I'll not return. Adios, my love replied. Northeast from the desert of Sonora, refuge seemed impossible to find. Though the future is unknown, forgiveness is for God alone. Graciela rode there, steady at my side. We rode as long and hard as she was able. When her time came, we had to stop and rest. The push for flight within me died when I heard our baby cry and saw him resting quiet on her breast. Spanish is the loving tongue, the language of our hearts. We tied our souls together, only death to part. Graciela watched me dressed to go, pistols at my side. Goodbye, I said, I'll not return. Adios, my love replied. Outside on the street, my fate awaits me. I cannot hide, there's nothing too untold. Keep my gold watch for our son. Take my life for the wrongs I've done. Graciela's prayers will guide me to the Lord. From the balcony I watch the quiet plaza. A horseman turns and slowly rides away. Teardrops fall, I bow my head, kneel beside my darling's bed as morning comes to Mission Santa Fe. As morning comes to Mission Santa Fe. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. As I said, I'm Kerry Grombacher. I live in New Orleans, Louisiana. People ask me sometimes if it is not a strange thing to live in Louisiana and write cowboy songs. Well, you know, it's a strange thing to live in Louisiana no matter what you do. But the fact of the matter is we have cowboys in Louisiana. You've probably not heard of them because they do all their cowboying in French. They are Creole and Cajun cowboys. The Cajuns, of course, are descendant from the Acadians, the French who were booted out of Canada in the 1740s when the English took over. And they came down the east coast of the United States, the eastern seaboard, settled in the Gulf of Mexico on the Louisiana coast. They became trappers and fishermen in the bayou and swamp country there on the Gulf of Mexico. And over time, those Cajuns, the Acadians, moved inland. They established farms and ranches. Then after the Civil War, many of those families began intermarrying with newly freed African Americans, former slaves off the plantations. So they created a parallel Creole culture. So we have Cajuns and Creoles, white folks and black folks. They cook the same food. They all speak French. They cook the same food, shrimp etouffee, crawfish bisque, alligator and sauce piquante, things like that. Oh, wonderful, wonderful dish. They play the same music. It's all in French. If it's white folks doing it, it's generally called Cajun music. If it's black folks doing it, it's generally called Zydeco. But it's the same music, slightly different instrumentation. They cowboy the same way too. Straw hats almost year-round because it rarely gets cold enough in southern Louisiana to warrant a felt hat. Alligator boots because we have alligators like mad all over the state. In fact, I live actually in the city of New Orleans, and within 5 blocks of my house, there's a bayou, and we have alligators there. So it's wonderful. But in Southwest Louisiana, the Cajun and Creole cowboys, they deal with alligators all the time. And one of the things they have to do is swim their cows across the bayous to get them from pasture to pasture in the springtime. And I was thinking one day about a Cajun cowboy, a fellow from Crowley, Louisiana, maybe, or someplace south of there, who just got tired of losing calves to the alligators in the swamp every year, decided he'd go to Wyoming, where, as far as he knew, there were no alligators. The Cajun cowboy. He was a Cajun cowboy from South Louisiana. He could ride like the wind, that boy could throw the hula hand. But when he tired of the view from his own front porch, he saddled up his horse, started riding north. The Cajun cowboys wrangling an old Cheyenne. At night the bawling cattle would hear him sing a circle song about his pirogue on the bayou and his long lost Jolie Blanc. Round the cook fire, Lord, I can hear him yet spinning tales about the swamp south of Lafayette. The Cajun cowboys wrangling up in old Cheyenne. Etoile. He used to fry his mountain oysters in a batter like his mama made. He taught the boys to speak French like they wrote it off the Vucare. Cook, he finally quit when the crew complained they didn't want stew, they wanted etouffee. The Cajun cowboys wrangling in the cook shack now. So his mama sent him chicory, and you know she sent him filet too. So he could boil his Cajun coffee, start his gumbo with a dark brown roux. Round the stock pond, he built a little house on stilts, ran a trot line up a creek in the hills. The Cajun cowboys wrangling in the cook shack now. Oh, the Cajun cowboys wrangling in the cook shack now. And the food is more better than Dakota to West Bite allowed. One skinny cowboy gained so many pounds, he traded in his pony for a Percheron. The Cajun cowboys wrangling in the cook shack now. Oh, the Cajun cowboys cooking up in old Cheyenne. And when the weather gets cold, they use a little more cayenne. Oh, the Cajun cowboy, they say le bon temps roulé. Aye! I wrote that song, yes indeed. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. In fact, with one exception, I think that everything I do this afternoon will be an original song. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So I'm on the road a lot. I'm on the road 6 to 8 months of the year these days, traveling a lot. I had a 2001 Subaru Forester for the longest time. I drove that car 547,000 miles. Then I retired it. It was still running, and I gave it away. And I bought a new car, and I've got, about 5 years ago, I've got more than 200,000 miles on that car now. And largely, I spend a lot of time behind the wheel, but I spend almost 90% of that time behind the wheel just daydreaming. I'm lost in thought all the time. I do hold on to the steering wheel. I know you look a little skeptical, I know, but I do hold on to the steering wheel because page 7 of the Subaru's owner's manual recommends you do that, and I did read the manual. But nonetheless, I'm thinking about what I had for lunch and what I'm going to have for supper, what I should have said, what I'm going to say next. I'm plotting world domination. I'm just driving along, it's like that. But I noticed things along the road, and I was driving in northern Montana. You're probably familiar with US Highway 2, the High Line of Montana, runs right along the Saskatchewan-Alberta borders, along the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks. In fact, if you took the train from Minneapolis to Seattle, you would go through the countryside I'm talking about. And sure enough, I was driving from Chinook, Montana, where a friend of mine has a ranch. I was heading west on US Highway 2 on the High Line, and there on the edge of town, as I reached Havre, Montana, the old railroad center, as I reached Havre, there on the edge of town is a plywood sign with fading blue paint on it, just peeling like mad, and it says, Havre, Montana, home of the Blue Ponies. And it turns out that the Blue Pony is the high school mascot of Havre High School. And the story they tell about that horse is that up until the winter of 1912, that horse was white. But that winter, it dropped below the customary 50 below zero in Havre, and that poor horse just shivered so much it turned blue. And I don't know if that's a true story or not, but they tell it as a true story, and my job as a modern-day troubadour is to hear people's stories in one town and to take them to another town and repeat them in front of gullible-looking audiences such as y'all. So I can't swear to the veracity of that story, and nonetheless, I tell the story every day. And I saw that blue horse on that sign, and my first thought was that horse, I'm driving along daydreaming, remember, that horse is just going to fly off that sign high above that northern Montana highline landscape. She saddled that blue pony, pulled the cinches tight. In her dream, she rode the high line, climbing toward the northern lights. She could see the colors dancing where the Milk River wound. She could see how the horizon holds the highway down, and she needed all the courage she could gather in her dream of leaving Havre. balanced on the high line like she's walking on a tightrope, anxious and excited, filled with worry and with hope. She once moved south near Billings, but her father came to get her when the man that she had married took her money and he hit her. Now she carries the time-told burden of the daughter in a dream of leaving Hammer. There's a woman reading tarot cards in a trailer out near Malta who warned her she would stumble, who said that she might falter, but with the pole star on her shoulder, she sets her pony's course with the slightest tap of rein and a murmur to the horse. If she falls, she knows the blue pony will catch her in her dream of leaving Hammer. The wind out of Saskatchewan takes away her breath, and the freight train's mournful whistles sing like harbingers of death. She knows there's something better, so she prays that God will grant her her dream of leaving Hammer. The moon on the Missouri, like a dirty ribbon shirt, is an arrow on a heart line shot into the prairie earth. One night she felt her shadow touch the shadow of a fox as it ran out toward the willows from the overhanging rocks. High above the breaks, she spurred her horse on faster in a dream of leaving Hammer. Like a labyrinth of tunnels, her feelings deep and hidden, she awakens with no memory of the country she has ridden. But she's tired and she's restless, her heart cries out for peace. Her eyes seek darkness early, and her body yearns for sleep. But again tonight that pony's hide will lather in her dream of leaving Hammer. She saddled that blue pony, pulled the cinches tight. In her dream she rode the high line, climbing toward the northern lights. She could see the colors dancing where the Milk River wound. She could see how the horizon holds the highway down, and she needed all the courage she could gather in her dream of leaving Hammer. Lord, she'll need all the courage she can gather for her dream of leaving Hammer. Thank you very much. When white settlers got to the West, they found Mexican vaqueros already working on large ranches, working cows from horseback. And the Anglo settlers, the European settlers who got out to the West, learned how to cowboy from those Mexican vaqueros, the Mexican cowboys. They learned to say lariat from lariata, the rope. They learned to say rodeo from rodear, to round up or surround the cows. They learned to call the cook the cusi, which comes from the Spanish word cocinero. The cocinero is the cook. Cocinar is the Spanish verb to cook. La cocina is the kitchen. El cocinero is the guy who does the cooking. And nobody went to cooking school to become a chuck wagon cook. You know, they didn't go to the Culinary Institute, then move west and get a job with Charlie Goodnight. Largely, the cowboys who did the trail driving, from the mid-1880s to for another about 5 or 7 years, just that one period of trail drives, those guys were largely young men. They were 17 to 22 years old. They were dumb and crazy and just foolhardy the way only young adults can be, young men. They were out there. I mean, consider, you got 15 guys, you've got 25,000 head of cattle, rangy longhorns that you're moving from South Texas all the way to Montana in some cases. And you're out there in the Western Plains just on your own. No hospitals, no doctors, no nothing. Maybe the cook could set a broken leg if you were lucky. Otherwise, you're pretty much out of luck. And so a lot of those young men got hurt riding horses. Your horse would hit a hole, you'd fall, you might get thrown. Anything could happen. And so if you got to be age 22 or 23 and you were still riding, you were an old man on the range. And if the boss liked you, he might say to you one day, well, Charlie, you're not going out, you're not wrangling anymore, you're too stove up, we can't count on you, you're going to be cooking this year. And that's deflating. That was a step down for a top hand. No top hand wanted to go from being a wrangler to being, a buckaroo to being the cook. Because you lost your name for one thing, that people just referred to you as Kusi all the time. But it was really important. I mean, the cook was the linchpin of those trail drives because he had to move his wagon up ahead of the herd, get established, make sure there was food all the time. He'd set up camp, had to have coffee right away, biscuits going from his sourdough starter, beans on the pot, on the fire in the pot. This was really important to the cowboys because they were working practically 24 hours a day. The day would start, say, at 4 or 5 in the morning when you'd get up, you'd get your horses together, start moving those cows north. You would end the day by about 4 in the afternoon. For one thing, dark came really early. They came quickly on the Western Plains. But also, it's a lot of cows, a lot of movement. So you want to settle them down, get them stopped, and then over the course of the next, say from the next 12 hours really, you'd have a couple of cowboys in rotation riding a big circle around that bedded down herd. They were called the night herders. And it was really important. I wanted to keep the cows from getting spooked because the last thing you want is a loud noise to spook the cattle and a stampede to happen. So the cowboys are out there riding night herd, and they're singing quiet songs and talking very softly so the cows don't get spooked. And when they came in off guard like that, they would want coffee and something to eat. So the cook is up all the time. He's up late, he's up early, always waiting with some coffee and maybe occasionally a dried apple pie, the old cocinero. The old cocinero stared into the fire, sang an old Spanish song, words that he had sung from the time when he was young, and he rode the trail north up from Mexico. He stirred up the fire and the flame leaped higher. He felt again youth's passion and the love, but the dancing golden sparks faded off into the dark, disappearing in the night sky above. He rode for the brand, he'd been a top cowhand, but now he roused those pots for the crew. In his mind he goes back to those days of marking track on the trail with the cowboys that he knew. And his eyes grew damp as he looked across the camp, and he thought of those compadres now long gone. In their prime they'd won the battle, snapping the broncs and country cattle. Now the range is taken over by their sons, and his tired bones are aching, and he knows the West is changing, and he wonders why things have to move so fast. Then a dream of silver bridles comes shining from the shadows, like an ember that's half buried in the ash. Like a Spanish song he'd sung since the time when he was young, and he rode the trail north up from Mexico. This changing of the guard was a blow that struck him hard. They've forgotten who he was and what he did. After all the risks he took, he's just an old camp cook riding nighthawk on a cavvy full of kids. You tie your knots in the end, that's all you've got. These boys will tie theirs hard and fast and true. Lord, they're brave and bold like vaqueros of old, rode the trails back when the West was new. And like raindrops without number, the shooting stars of summer are the good luck that the new day will bring. In the hour before sunrise, soaking apples for the day's pies, he leans against the wagon box and sings a Spanish song he'd sung since the time when he was young, and he rode the trail north up from Mexico. The old cocinero stared east toward the sunrise and sang an old Spanish song. Thank you. Thanks very much. Charles Badger Clark was the poet laureate of South Dakota. He was one of the founding cowboy poets, the foundational cowboy poets. Badger Clark, Bruce Cascadden, Henry Herbert Nibbs, and S. Omar Barker were sort of the four mainstays of cowboy poetry. They were the guys who did it first, did it really well in the late 19th, early 20th century. And Badger Clark from Deadwood, South Dakota, wrote some beautiful poems that were very, very metrical. He was a guitar player himself, so they sound like songs so often. And many of Badger Clark's poems have been set to music. This is one called A Bad Half Hour, and it's kind of a corollary to the Costanero song in that there's a fellow who's just waking up to ride night guard, and he's listening to one of his colleagues, one of his friends out who's already working, and the guy is singing a song that really kind of irks our narrator. The old Scottish air, Annie Laurie. Don't know why I feel so restless. Moon is shining still and bright. Cattle all are resting easy, but I still can't sleep tonight. Ain't no cactus in my blankets. Don't know why they seem so hard. Unless this warbling Jim is singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Annie Laurie, I wish he'd quit it. Couldn't sleep now if I tried. Makes the night so big and lonesome. Makes my throat so sore inside. Oh, my Annie used to sing it, and it sounded good and gay. Nights I drove her home from dances as the east was turning gray. Lord, her brow was like the snowdrifts, and her eyes were quiet streams, and her face, I still can see it, much too frequent in my dreams. Oh, her hands were soft and trembling that night beneath the trees, when I couldn't help but tell her she meant all the world to me. But her folks said I was shiftless, quiet, unsettled, they were right. For I leaned to punching cattle, and I'm at it still tonight. Oh, she married young Doc Wilkins. My Lord, I took that hard. Wish that fool would quit his singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Annie Laurie, I wish he'd quit it. Couldn't sleep now if I tried. Makes the night so big and lonesome. Makes my throat so sore inside. Oh, my Annie used to sing it. It sounded good and gay. Nights I drove her home from dances while the east was turning gray. Now I just can't stand it thinking about those things that happened then. My good times, they're all past me, never come my way again. My turn, sure I come a-running. Warm me up some coffee pard. At least I'll stop that fool from singing Annie Laurie out on guard. Kind of a sad song.
So that one you didn't write?
That's a Badger Clark poem. Yeah. Badger Clark just wrote beautiful, wonderful stuff. He wrote some novelty things, Boastful Bill, all kinds of crazy cowboy caper poems, long ones. He was writing in the style, Rudyard Kipling and Robert Service, those long narrative poems. And then he wrote some beautiful, lovely poems. One called, the technical title is Border Affair, but it's been recorded as a song called Spanish is the Loving Tongue. I'm sure many of you heard it. Just a beautiful tune that he wrote. So he was a great poet, and you can find his work still published. Badger Clark, Charles Badger Clark.
Terry?
Yes.
We kind of established this to be...
I will be happy to take questions, yes.
Interactive, and we'll get to that later. But I just wanted to say that Jake, who's in charge of... I live in Fairfax, which is up the road about 26.
Oh, wow.
That's in the Frontierland Library
Right.
system. Jake at the Olivia Public Library said that if you were any good, I should have you call him for some more gigs.
We'll talk after
I'm
that.
convinced.
Okay, great. Sounds terrific. Okay, now let's see where I'm going with this.
Sorry.
Yeah. totally destroyed my show. No, not really. So I've been fascinated. Well, I think that as a culture, we're fascinated by outlaws. We love outlaws, especially if they're over there, not right here. And I, like many Westerners, fell into the Billy the Kid legend. I was 10 years old. My family went from where we lived in eastern Kansas down to New Mexico for vacation one summer in the early 1960s. And I remember going to Lincoln County and learning all about Billy the Kid. The Lincoln County Wars over who was going to provide the beef for the military in northern New Mexico. Billy the Kid, notorious killer, jumped out of the made a great escape from the local jail, jumping out of the second floor window, just all the great adventures he had. Only later, as an adult, when I started studying American history, did I learn that the things that we think we know about Billy the Kid were all made up by people who never met him. Dime novelists and newspapermen who never went west of St. Louis just made up stories about him left and right. We think we know about him, but we know nothing. We have a pretty good guess about what his real name was, where he came from, but maybe not. And the thing that really drove that home for me was, for a long time, there was only one authenticated photograph of Billy the Kid. It was Billy the Kid, lanky guy, scowly face, striped sweater, holding a rifle. And that was Billy the Kid, notorious killer, 22 men. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, a new photograph surfaced. In this picture, Billy the Kid, same scowly face, same lanky guy, but in this one, he's playing croquet. Billy, I mean, think about that. You don't think of your notorious gunslingers as being sportsmen, playing croquet. So it made me rethink everything about Billy the Kid, and made me think a lot about the night that he was allegedly killed in Fort Sumner, New Mexico, by Pat Garrett. They say the first kill is the hardest one of all, but the first bite's all it took for Adam's fall. I know now that my tale had not begun until the moment when the bullet left the gun. No, this is not the way my life was to unfold. This is not the way my story would be told. I had not thought to live life on the run until the moment when the bullet left the gun. With a finger's twitch, the world just blew apart in the stillness between the beats of my heart. I turned my face from the blinding light, felt my soul drift toward the night. I didn't hear his boot heels shuffle on the floor, didn't hear him open up the bedroom door. I'd not lived my life in fear of anyone until the moment when the bullet left the gun. No, this is not the way my life was gonna end. I was always looking round that next bend. Thought I'd rise and greet the morning sun until the moment when the bullet left the gun. When a finger's twitch, the world just blew apart in the stillness between the beats of my heart. I turned my face from the blinding light, felt my soul drift toward the night. In my sleep I dreamt I saw Orion's belt and a shooting star where penitentes knelt. I'd never seen a constellation come undone until the moment when the bullet left the gun. I didn't know that I was drawing my last breath, didn't know that I was dreaming my own death. I didn't know the web of life had come unspun until the moment when the bullet left the gun. you. Thanks very much. Thank you. I think at this is probably time for me to come clean with you all. I've not always been a famous folk singer. I'm sorry to disappoint you. It's true. My dad was in the Army, and I moved around a lot when I was a kid. And my first real job was working at the Sparkle Car Wash in Norfolk, Virginia. I was 13 or 14 years old, and it was a great job. I worked with people, kind of people I'd never met before. It was kind of fun for me. There was a fellow who worked with us. He would invariably, he'd come to work on Friday and Saturday, which were the big money days. But he never came to work on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And the boss tolerated him because A, it doesn't take a lot of skill to work at a car wash and he could come and go, but also it kept the payroll down. So the busy days, the guy was there, the slow days, he wasn't. But one Friday afternoon, this phalanx of law enforcement officers, Norfolk policemen, there were Virginia state troopers, Secret Service agents, all kinds of people. They descended on the Sparkle Car Wash and arrested that guy. It turns out he had been robbing banks in North Carolina on his days off from the car wash. Well, you laugh now, but think about it. He was such a poor excuse for a bank robber, he could not quit his day job. So I left that disorganized criminal world behind, the world of disorganized crime, and moved into the area of organized crime. My dad got stationed at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, right on the coast of New Jersey, and I got a job as a lifeguard at a mob-controlled beach resort in Seabright, New Jersey. I was the fellow in charge of saving lives for the mafia. It was a great job. They paid me really well, rarely asked me to do any real work. It was fantastic, for somebody with my temperament especially. But alas, all things come to an end, and indeed I had to leave that job. But when I left, I was offered a choice between entering the Federal Witness Protection Program and becoming a folk singer. They told me both programs guaranteed anonymity, and I could just take my choice. I've been laboring in obscurity for a long, long time now, so I guess the government did not lie to me at all that time. But I hasten to add, this next tune, this is not my true story. This is set on the banks of the Arkansas River in Canyon City, Colorado, where back in the 1890s, Colorado built its maximum security territorial prison. And I drove by that prison one year several times and began to wonder what it might have been like to be locked up in those bad old days. They built the territorial prison out on the edge of town. 3-foot thick walls of limestone brick and the turrets all around, yeah, watchtowers all around. From behind these bars I can see the yard and what they call no man's land. I can hear the singing of the Arkansas, the music of the dam, boys, the music of the dam. The river runs clear and fast in the mountains, and then it muddies and it slows, like your path is so clear when you're young and free, but like a game trail when it's cold. It's hard to find when you grow. I stole 3 horses and I killed a man. I was running for the Cherokee Strip, but they brought me back here in shackles and chains, and I ain't been out of them yet. No, I ain't taken one step yet. I drew a medicine wheel on the floor of my cell. I scratched it with my fingernails. I had to guess about the north and south, 'cause you can't see the stars in jail. No, you can't see the stars in jail. The river runs clear and fast in the mountains, and then it muddies and it slows, like your path is so clear when you're young and free, but like a game trail when it's cold. It's hard to find when you grow. I was back on the Gunnison, where the canyon is cold and black. If I could free my legs, Lord, I'd run and run. They'd never cut my track. They'd never take me back. Let my spirit rise like the sweetgrass smoke when they pull me from the cell. And like a red-tailed hawk over heaven's gate, I'll look down on this hell, boys. I'll look down on this hell. The river runs clear and fast in the mountains, and then it muddies and it slows, Like your path is so clear when you're young and free, but like a game trail when it's cold, it's hard to find when you've grown. Hard to find when you've grown old. Thank you. So when I wake up from my daydreaming when I'm driving around, I like to stop and shop for vintage Western wear. I'm always looking for cowboy shirts that fit me, hats and boots that fit, Western-themed neckties like this really cool Gunsmoke necktie that I've got on. Hard for you to see probably from there, but it's James Arness from the back. His best side, I think. And so I was in a church thrift store in Durango, Colorado in October, a bunch of years ago now, and I bought for $10 an amazing jacket. It is a fully lined, all wool, 3/4 length, double-breasted H-bar-C car coat. And H-bar-C was one of the preeminent Western wear manufacturers in the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And this jacket is just beautiful. I paid $10 for it, as I said. And I learned a lesson when I bought that jacket. My mother heard me talking about it a couple of years later and said, you know, Kerry, if you'd listened to me when you were younger, you would have known that already. And of course, my mother was right, because my mother was always right. Indeed. And the lesson I learned that day is, you know, and you probably know this already, when you give away a garment, maybe you lend somebody a jacket with no expectation of getting it back, or you donate it to the church for the thrift store rummage sale, or sell it in a garage sale, whatever you do, always check the pockets. Always look in the pockets before you give something away, right? Yeah. You knew this already, didn't you? Whose coat was this before I bought it? Crumpled note left in the pocket, penned in a childish hand. Grandpa, I love you. Its useful life had all but ended. Now the tattered cloth is bended, buttons reattached, the seams all sewn anew. Left behind on a city bus, dropped into the Goodwill box. Does someone miss this coat? Is he cold as I am warm? And could he bear to lose the note? Sweet words a grandchild wrote, words to warm the heart in any winter storm. Mysteries remain after time has passed, stories too old to be remembered. The breath of some past summer's love is frosted on the glass when the windows rattle in December. What star is this shines through the sunrise? Day, what day that lights our eyes, waking from the dreaming moments after dawn. Like grains of sand slip through your fingers, time moves on but memory lingers. A note pressed in the hand lies crumpled on your palm. Well, I read this note meant for someone else. I think I know what that heart felt. He kept it close at hand to keep from growing numb. At times when I've been all alone, it's touched me like that Williams poem. There's nothing sweet as love, not even cold ripe plums. Mysteries remain after time has passed, stories too old to be remembered. The breath of some past summer's love is frosted on the glass when the windows rattle in December. Whose love was yours before I wanted, I know, but I don't dwell upon it. Our stories are not secrets, its living shapes our souls. But I think of those who overlooked you, drew you close and then forsook you, coatless men on sidewalks, shivering in the cold. Well, I thank the stars, count my blessings, when I find a piece that's missing, when I learn a lesson, or when a dream comes true. The bounty of that cast-off coat, innocent and lovely note, the moment I awoke and knew that I love you. Mysteries remain after time has passed, stories too old to be remembered. The breath of some past summer's love is frosted on the glass when the windows rattle in December. Whose coat was this before I bought it? Crumpled note left in the pocket, penned in a childish hand. Grandpa, I love you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, the Cowboys were not a talkative bunch of guys. They did not sit around the campfire discussing their relationships and their feelings the way we do today. They just didn't do it. But they did have words and phrases they used to connote their really good friendships and their partnerships. They would talk about a man with a lot of bottom or a lot of sand, somebody who was really stable, you could count on all the time. Kind of like weebles wobble, they don't fall down. That's what you're looking for, a guy, somebody who's just going to be upright for you all the time. And a phrase they used to describe their partnerships, one of them was, he'll do to tie to. Somebody you knew you could partner up with and he'd have your back all the time. But the highest praise, the highest praise was the phrase, he'll do to ride the river with. That's somebody you knew that you partner with him. That's a lifetime commitment, almost like a marriage in a way. But it was two friends, colleagues, people who would just have the same vision, and you always knew that guy would have your back. And he'll do to ride the river with. No wonder how I came to be walking. Any luck I might have had's long left behind. It only matters now that we threw in together, and we rode the river till the river ran dry. Haven't had a friend since I was just a youngster. Never felt the need, didn't take the time. You work side by side with a man, that's gotta mean something. And we rode the river till the river ran dry. God, I wish he'd never crossed that border. Should've known to leave well enough alone. That's a lesson you don't learn till you've grown older. And he might still be alive if he hadn't left home. We never talked about the past, but we both had one. No cause to boast, no call to lie. But you learn enough from the firm grip of a handshake. And we rode the river till the river ran dry. Late one night he sang an old corrido, what I too recalled from years gone by. The young man seeks his fortune but finds his death. And we rode the river till the river ran dry. God, I wish we'd never crossed that border. Should have known to leave well enough alone. That's a lesson you don't learn till you've grown older. And he might still be alive if he hadn't left home. Through the rain I watched the lights come on in Juarez. The wind kicked up as the day began to die. He's buried over yonder in a narrow grave. And we rode the river till the river ran dry. I woke to the eyes of a she-wolf staring at me. The air was still, the pale light touched the sky. The eyes resolved into Venus and Mars above me. Love and war rode the river till the river ran dry. God, I wish I'd never crossed that border. Never touched anything that was not my own. I've lived this long without a thought to growing older. And now another cowboy's riding home. Through the dawn I hear a mournful gray wolf cry. And we rode the river till the river ran dry. We rode the river till the river ran dry. We rode the river till the river ran dry. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I had a great honor in 2021. A song that I wrote, the title track of my most recent CD called Range of the Buffalo, won the Song of the Year award from the International Western Music Association. I was very happy about that. Mother of millions, daughter of one, walk from the willows to the rising sun, great humpback high head swinging low on the range of the buffalo. Thunder on the prairie, thunder in their hooves, earth would tremble when the bison move. Seasons come and seasons go on the range of the buffalo. I grew up in the dust of many horses, my lance was lightning, my aim was true. Took what the earth did offer, I gave praise when praise was due. Longshot's barrel is glowing red. From this hilltop, count 100 dead. Leave the carcass, just take the coat on the range of the buffalo. From Jacksboro to Saskatoon, blood did flow from an open wound. Now drive a mule car, try to make a load of the bleached out bones of the buffalo. I rode in the dust of longhorn cattle. Vaquero's saddle was my pride. I thought the trail would last forever, as long as we had horses to ride, horses to ride. We stretched the fence, we built the town, we broke the side with ox and plow. We dammed the rivers that used to flow on the range of the buffalo. I've heard a whisper on the wind, all that's gone never comes again. Last red embers of daylight glow on the range of buffalo. Now I drive in a cloud of dust and diesel, coast to coast, midnight to dawn. This land is crossed by rail and wire. We're left to dream our dreams and sing our songs. We sing our songs. Mother of millions, daughter of one, walk from the willows to the rising sun. Great humpback high, head swinging low on the range of the buffalo. Thank you very much. Thank you. It has been a great pleasure to be here with all y'all this afternoon. I want to thank you again for being here, braving the weather, the slight downpour. I guess there was a little downpour. Hopefully it's all done. Again, practice y'all. When I come back in 2 years, I expect to hear all of you sounded like you came from Georgia. Okay, one more question.
I've been in the guitar industry most of my life. I play guitar. But I've also been in the Western wear industry. But I can tell that's a handmade guitar.
Yes, it is. I'll talk about it later. Okay. Let me do one first. So let me take you for this last song. I'll take you down to New Orleans. We're back in 1884. Buffalo Bill brought the Wild West Show to town. In 1884, the Wild West Show was only 2 years old. And New Orleans is where Bill Cody hired Annie Oakley. And when Sitting Bull watched her audition for the show, he was really impressed with her marksmanship, and he nicknamed her Little Sure Shot. And he called her that over the course of the years they worked together. So New Orleans is also the place where, in addition to hiring Annie Oakley, well, let me also tell you that they were in New Orleans for almost 5 months. They came in the fall of 1884 and stayed through the spring of 1885 for the World Cotton Exposition. It was one of the very first World's Fairs ever held. So while they were there, Mardi Gras transpired, which happens every early February, and the Plains Indians from the Wild West Show met the people we call the Mardi Gras Indians in New Orleans. It's called the Wild West Mambo. I want to thank all y'all again. Leroy, I want to thank y'all, the singular. Thank y'all, the couple. Thank the little family in the back, all y'all back there. Yeah. Buffalo Bill on the riverboat. white goatee and a buckskin coat. He said, I got a surefire money-making scheme. We take the Wild West Show to New Orleans. A Wild West Show in New Orleans, biggest show that they've ever seen. Buffalo hunters, the lion fighters, Little Sure Shot and the bareback rider. Buffalo hunters, the lion fighters, Little Sure Shot and the bareback rider. Gathered at the fairgrounds late at night, big powwow by flambeau light, turkey feather and the circle dance, cowboy songs and Indian chants, African drum and a willow flute, sparkling beads on an Indian suit. The strangest thing that you ever saw, cowboys and Indians at the Mardi Gras. The strangest thing that you ever saw, cowboys and Indians at the Mardi Gras. From Elysian fields to the river bend, black men and red men making friends. Creole, Wild West, the Ogallala, buffalo liver, and the gumbo yaya. On the wharf by the cotton bales, passing the pipe and swapping tales. Suited up and stepping out, spy boy and the Indian scout. Suited up and stepping out, spy boy and the Indian scout. Now, Mardi Gras Indians are found only in New Orleans. They're African-American folks who, since the mid-part of the 19th century, made elaborate feather and bead costumes they call Indian suits. They did it as a way of breaking into highly segregated Mardi Gras celebrations on the streets of New Orleans, and as a way of paying homage to Gulf Coast Indian tribes that harbored escaped slaves. And every Mardi Gras Indian tribe is neighborhood-based, with names like the Ninth Ward Hunters, Yellow Pocahontas, Black Osceola, Wild Chapatulas. Every Mardi Gras Indian tribe's got a big chief and a queen. There's a wild man who keeps things interesting. The flag boy carries the colors when they go out to march on Mardi Gras morning or St. Joseph's night. And a spy boy goes out 2 or 3 blocks ahead looking for other Indians. Because when the Mardi Gras Indians are on the streets, they're looking for other Indians to show off the new suit they made that year. Because every year, every Mardi Gras Indian makes a brand new suit. Represents thousands of dollars worth of feathers and beads, and hundreds of hours of painstaking sewing and patchwork, all to turn out the prettiest suit they could possibly have. The spy boys arrange the meeting. The chiefs face off under a street lamp in uptown New Orleans. The tribe is singing and dancing. One of the songs they sing while they're showing off those suits is one you might remember from the hit parade in the early 1960s. Well, my flag boy and your flag boy sitting on the bayou. My flag boy to your flag boy, gonna set your flag on fire. Talking about hey now, Iko, ane. Giacomo fina anane, Giacomo fina ane. It's called Iko, recorded by the Dixie Cups in 1963. Well, the Wild West Band went to Basin Street to drink their fill and get a bite to eat. When they left the district, their ears were ringing with the hot new music and the wild blues singing. Storyville music set their feet to tapping, syncopated rhythm had their fingers snapping. Back of the quarter, it was so sublime to hear the Wild West Band join the second line. Back of the quarter, it was so sublime to hear the Wild West Band join the second line. Rich and poor, old and young, came to see how the West was won. From Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Algiers, Delacroix, and Chalmette. Buffalo Bill said it's such a pity to leave our friends in the Crescent City. I miss the oysters and the good red beans, but I must say goodbye to New Orleans. I miss the oysters and the good red beans, but I must say goodbye to New Orleans. A Wild West Mambo, Wild West Mambo. Well, the biggest show that we ever seen was the Wild West Show down in New Orleans. Buffalo Bill had himself a dream to take the Wild West Show to New Orleans. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Leroy, thank you very much for having me. Goodbye,
Is that good? Yeah, it was great. Yeah. Thank you so much,
You don't
Kerry.
have to wait 2 years, you can come back in a year.
But if you enjoy programs like this, please let me know. I'll see what I can do to arrange them. But again, thank you so much, Kerry, for being here. We really appreciate it. Let's give him one more round of applause.
Thank you so much. We were thankful that what you've done. I appreciate it. Thank all y'all for coming out. Be happy to chat.